Hello everyone and welcome back to another single button guide. Today we're going to talk about the Assassination Rogue, and this is going to be the fast version. So I'm trying to keep this guide under 10 minutes, but I will also upload another version which is going to be an hour long. But I thought it would be worth to do the quick one first. So in today's video we're going to go through the stats, the talents and the rotation. So after you have spent 10 minutes watching this video, you should be pretty good to run this spec here, the Assassination Rogue with a single button assistant, and still be doing quite a lot of damage in your dungeons or raids. But let's do it. When it comes to stats, the first thing that is the most important I need to say is you should always go with the highest upgrade level / eye level. So hear me out. Agility is such an important stat now for rogues, and it's going to just increase all your damage by so much. So, for example, if we take my shoulders here, which I was trying to find, you can see it is the veteran upgrade level. You can see here, if I just, I have to move it down a little bit. There, upgrade level, veteran. This means if I find a shoulder that is explore or adventure, I would never touch it because it would simply have to weigh low agility to be worth it. But now this one here, since it's a veteran item, if I found another one which was champion, hero, myth, I wouldn't even look at the secondary stats. I would just instantly go with it because it will have so much more agility that the secondary stats doesn't even matter. But the moment I find an item that is the same upgrade level as the one I already have, that's when we look at the secondary stats, very importantly, because you will, of course, once you get like a champion shoulder, you'll be finding a lot of champion shoulders, and that's when you should be looking at the secondary stats. Once you actually find an item that is the same upgrade level as the one you have, that's when you look at the secondary stats. For the Assassination Rogue, the first secondary stat that is the most important one is Mastery. Basically, Mastery increases all the damage done by poison and blades, and since Assassination Rogue is literally a melee warlock, and a melee affliction warlock, it's such an important stat because we are doing so much poison and blade damage. So trust me, you really want this. So yeah, Mastery is just the best icing on the cake. Then we have Critical Strike. Critical Strike is usually something that is nice, it deals double damage and so on. But you might be asking, why is Critical Strike this important for rogues, assassin rogues? Well, actually, we have this talent here. Let me just move it down. We have this talent here called Seal Fate. Critical strikes with attacks that generate combo points gain an additionally combo points per critical strike. So every time we actually are using combo generator spells that actually give combo points, whenever they crit, they will give us even more combo points, which means we will be able to do even bigger bursts in shorter time. Insane. So of course, we're gonna have there's a few talents in here that is benefiting of crit. You can see all these with the arrows on, icons here. They all benefit from crit and give more crit and so on. So I mean, just crit in all is just very healthy for the Assassination Rogue to have. But yeah, especially because more damage and more crit combo points, which is nice. Then we have Haste. Haste is nice, Haste is kind of making you attack faster, making bleeds and poison and stuff like that tick even faster. It reduces the global cooldown, which we get punished for using. When you use the single button assistant, you have a 25% longer global cooldown, but because of Haste, it actually can make it even faster, the global cooldown, which of course is nice. So that's why we also do like Haste. And the last one is Versatility. On paper wise, when you look at the paper, Versatility is the one that gives least damage when it comes to all the stats. But Versatility is something that makes you more strong. It makes you more tankier. It increases the damage you deal. For example, if you have 10% Versatility, you're dealing 10% more damage and you take 5% less damage yourself. So having Versatility makes you more tanky, more stronger for solo content. So if you're someone who doesn't do dungeons and raids and you actually just play by yourself, Versatility could actually be the stat for you that would be important. So I'm just saying, if you want to do most damage in dungeons, you should go with Mastery, Crit, Haste, but If you want to like do solo content and just be strong yourself, versatility is probably going to be your friend. But that is the stats. When it comes to talents, we are using Deathstalker for dungeon. So basically we have a dungeon build here. This dungeon build here, we are using Deathstalker. And this build here, you should, in my opinion, you should be using it for like anything except when you have a raid, like a raid boss where you need to only attack one boss at a time. So basically any content in the game, dungeon, delves, whatever, you should be using the Deathstalker build, which is this dungeon build here. Again, all my builds are on my Discord server, so you can find all the build export strings on the Discord. And then for the raid, when you're actually going to do like most damage to a single target, that's when I recommend the Fatebound build here, which I have here. So again, the Fatebound build here is the one we're going to use in raids, and the dungeon build is the one Deathstalker is basically the one we're going to be using for anything else. The Deathstalker one is a bit harder to play. The main reason is because we need to keep up the Deathstalker mark, and we also have to think about going into stealth and using Vanish to basically reapply Garrots so that deals more damage, and also for dealing more Garrot and Rupture to more targets that is like close to you. So it's a spec that just requires a little bit more, but not that much more. And then the raid build is literally just pressing 1 and you don't have to think about anything, because everything in this build here is passive and inside your single button assistant. But I'll explain more on this when we actually get, which we're going to do now, get to the rotation part. So let's talk about rotation. We're going to start talk about the dungeon build and then the raid build. For the dungeon build, we're using Deathstalker here. Deathstalker build here, the dungeon build here, is using a lot of like stealth improving things. For example, 50% more damage to Garrot, and also that Garrot and Rupture applies to 2 additional targets. So another very important reason you're gonna start from stealth, and this is like a thing that happens. It will keep being there. This buff for 12 seconds after breaking stealth. We also have this one here that after 6 seconds after stealth, you still can use your like improved like Garrot spells and stuff like that. And also when you open from stealth with ambush, it's going to apply Deathstalker mark to your target, which basically is going to increase. Well, what happens is when you use a combo point spell that we're either using 5 or more combo points, it's going to take one of these 3 stacks and deal 150k plague damage. And then once you know, when you actually have no more marks on the target, you're probably going to think that I have to use Vanish and reply it again. Technically, no. When you consume the final Deathstalker mark from a target, or your target dies, gain 40 energy, and your next Envenom, which is normal, like a normal spell you have in your rotation, your next Envenom cast with maximum combo points is guaranteed to critical strike, deal 60% additional damage, and apply 3 stacks of Deathstalker mark. So you don't even have to, like, if you're, for example, fighting a boss, you don't have to worry about when your 3 stacks are off, because when you apply it, when you take the last one here, it will automatically be applied with a Venom. This is just to like let you know that you don't have to use Vanish that much in this rotation. The only reason you would use Vanish in this rotation here, personally, I would say, is to reapply Garrot and Rupture to like all the targets at the same time. Because when you're using Garrot and Rupture for the first time after stealth in the next 12 seconds, Garrot is going to deal 50% more damage as well after 12 seconds of stealth. But also, Garrot and Rupture is going to apply to 2 additional targets. So that means after I break stealth here, all the 3 targets here are actually going to get Garrot and Rupture, which is very nice. So let me show you. Basically, go into stealth, you're going to open, and you're going to spam 1. Now you can see there's Rupture on all of them, there's Garrot on all of them, which is very nice. Come on, yeah, there we go. Now you can see Garrot, Rupture on this one here, Garrot, Rupture on this one here, and so on. Now, when you have Garrot and Rupture on them, you press 2, Deathstalker mark, the Deathmark, sorry, it's just called Deathmark. What this one here does is it's basically, it's gonna duplicate your Garrot and Rupture and poisons. So you're gonna have a double Rupture on, double Garrot. So very, very importantly. So basically, the opener is go to stealth, spam your single button assistant. Once they have Garrot and Rupture on them, then you use Deathmark and it will copy them all. So there is 2 Garrots, 2 Ruptures, and double poisons. And it's going to deal insane amount of damage. So that's why don't use Deathmark as the first thing you do when you get into combat. I know it's also dealing a lot of bleed damage over 16 seconds, the Deathmark itself, but you first want to use it when your 2 bleedings, Garrett and Rupture, is there, because then they get ASAP copied and not waiting for you to use them later on. So this is like the only important thing. Start from stealth, get your bleedings out first. You don't even have to look after the bleedings. Just press it for like 3 or 5 seconds, then it will have them out. Trust me, they will be on. And then you press Deathmark. So that would be my recommendation. Spam 1, always from stealth, and then Deathmark. In case you have some mobs you're fighting that takes a very long time, then what you could do to apply like very quickly would be, you basically fight, they all have now Rupture and Garrett, but now the mobs are still not dead, and all the bleedings has been refreshed, so they're not on the other targets anymore. What I would personally do is I would vanish and start again from stealth, because then now again you're gonna again have 50% more damage on Garrett, and again your Garrett and Rupture is again going to be spreading to your targets. So vanish is kinda going to be in your rotation only when you didn't start from stealth, because then you can spread your bleedings to multiple targets again. So very importantly, the only reason we use Vanish is to get a Garrett that deals 50% more damage, and so we can spread Garrett and Rupture to multiple targets. Of course, if you're fighting a boss and he's still not dead after, after like, I don't know, a minute, then you could technically also use Vanish to get a Garrett again on the boss that deals 50% more damage. And don't think too much about Deathstalker Mark, because it will automatically keep being used and keep being reapplied from your Venom. And you cannot have Deathstalker Mark on multiple targets, so don't worry about going out of stealth and using ambush on 3 different targets. No, because every time you use ambush from stealth on another target, while subterfuge is on, it will just switch from the mark to another target. So just keep focusing on your main target, and everything else will just automatically be done for you, so don't worry about that. Then we have the raid build here, which is actually which is even easier to explain. Let me just get over here so we can go to the single target one here. The raid build here. So when it comes to the raid build is so much more like simple, because we don't have like any stealth like things here. The only stealth thing we have is when you break stealth the first time, it's gonna flip a coin ASAP, which is quite nice. So what you want to do is you always want to start from stealth and just throw like a ambush. But then after that, it's going to be exactly the same. You want to use Deathmark once you have a Garrett and Rupture on it, because then it's going to double them as well. So again, you go into stealth, you use ambush, and then you use you keep pressing 1, so it puts on your bleedings, Garrett and Rupture, and then you use Deathmark to basically double all the bleedings and your poisons. That's pretty much it. You never really use Vanish again, because this one here only works for the first time you break stealth in combat. So we don't have on the raid build any reason to use the Vanish. Of course, you could use Vanish to cast another ambush, because ambush of course deals 100k more damage than Mutilate. But I mean, you have only one Vanish, so I would probably maybe save it for like a better situation, or what I mean. So again, go to stealth, spam 1. Wait till you now we have a Garrett, now we have a Rupture, press 2, double them all, and there you go. Now we have double bleeds, double poisons, and you just keep pressing 1. And honestly, you don't even have to use Vanish to use an ambush, because we have this one here, which makes Mutilate have a 50% chance to make you, be able to cast another ambush itself without even going to stealth. So honestly, the raid build we have for the Assassin Rogue is very close to like an Outlaw Rogue, where stealth isn't really that important. Let's talk about then all your other spells. Again, the reason why we only use Vanish in the dungeon build was to be able to apply Garretts that deals more damage, and also to be able to apply them to more targets at the same time, in case you didn't go into, like, let's say they pulled another group of mobs before you had a chance to go into stealth. Then you use Vanish, and now you can apply all your dots and bleedings to multiple targets and even deal more damage to them. It's kind of just like a control thing. But again, it's not that important, but still it's going to give you like a lot of more damage. And also on the dungeon build, you have two you can actually use Vanish 2 times, so it's going to be way nicer for you. So what the other spells are basically doing. We have Crimson Vial, which is going to heal you for 25% of your health for like 4 seconds. We also have Facility. That one is, I mean, it's pretty cool to use while you're bursting because it's going to give you 13% more mastery for 6 seconds, which is going to increase all your bleeding damage, all your poison damage. So technically what you could do while you're bursting, you could be using Facility at the same time. Like, you know, it's going to only be there for 6 seconds. So you could, inside your burst from Deathmark, you could use Facility to just deal a little bit more damage, which would like mean 30% more damage, which of course is nice. But also it uses Facility automatically when you get below 30 energy. So it's up to you. You can either use it just to get that 30% more damage out, or you could not use it and it will automatically use it every time it gets below 30 energy. On the dungeon build, we have this talent here, which basically when you are above 50% maximum energy, your Garrett, Rupture, and Crimson Tempest consumes 2 energy to duplicate a 30% of any deal to duplicate 30% of any deal damage dealt. So when you actually are over 50% more maximum energy in the dungeon build, you deal insane amount of more damage. So of course in the dungeon build, it's nice to use Facility to make sure you always are over 50% more energy. But again, it uses it automatically as well whenever it gets below 30. So it's up to you if you really want to like look at that. We also have Kick in case the boss is actually using a spell we don't want it to use. You can kick it and then it will stop casting that spell if it's actually an interruptible spell. We also have Shadow Step in case you want to teleport behind someone. You can both use it on enemies and friends, which is quite nice. Then we also have Sprint to run very fast. We also have Cloak of Shadows, which is magic. Basically, you become magic for and immune for spells. So if you have any spells on you, they will basically go off. Instant remove all harmful spell effects. The cloak lingers, causing all you resist harmful spells for 5 seconds. Basically a bubble, paladin bubble, but only for spells. We also have Evasion, which is going to give you a 100% dodge chance. Then we have the Vanish, which is basically making you go into stealth, so you can use all your stealth spells. We also have Kidney Shot, which uses combo points to stun a target. So technically, we can actually, like, if we had like a normal mob that was casting a spell, and your kick is on cooldown, you can either use your Kidney Shot to stun it, or you can use Blind as well. So you could also use Blind to like stun it. Also, we are having this talent here where Blind has a 50% reduced cooldown, 70% reduced duration, but it applies to all nerfy enemies. So in case there was actually like 5 enemies casting a spell at the same time, you could actually throw Blind and it will blind them all and make them all stop using abilities, which is quite nice. We are also using Trick and Trade. Trick and Trade is a quite nice spell. For the next 30 seconds, all the threat you do is going to go to whoever you mark. So if this was the tank, I could use Trick and Trade on him. And now the next 30 seconds, all the damage I do, all the threat will go to the tank instead of him. We also have Distract, in case you go into stealth and you want to like make them look another way so you can go behind them. We also have Feint, which is going to reduce all the AoE damage you take by 40% for the next 6 seconds. So if you're standing in fire, it can actually reduce that damage you take when standing in fire. Pickpocket, Sap, and Cheap Shot. Technically, if you go into stealth, you can like, you know, Cheap Shot and Sap the targets, and also Mass Stealth. So 6-minute cooldown, but now you can like make everyone stealth for 15 seconds. That's basically it. So, thanks for watching my Assassination Rogue quick guide for the single button assistant. I hope it was useful. Again, I'm trying to make it fast, and then I will also make a longer version after this one here. So, thanks for watching. Appreciate you all, and appreciate all my YouTube members as well. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, and basically anyone who's watching this video, thank you also for supporting me. I'll see you in the next video.